So we are starting with a new canto. We have come out of the world of falsehood. What a word it was, what a frightening word it was. But I tell you, it's one of the most marvelous kind of descriptions. Most marvelous kind. And the last part particularly exceptional, very exceptional. The penman, this calligraphy and all those things, the future. So we are starting a new canto now, Canto 9 of the second book, the book of the traveler of the worlds. This is the culminating phase of Ashwapati's travel to the worlds of life. To the worlds of life. What we are going to see is the last phase of the worlds of life. From this point onward, after this one, we'll enter the worlds of mind and the higher spiritual worlds. So, this worlds of life, the top part of it is the paradise of the life gods, the vital beings, the vital powers, bright powers of the life, in the hierarchy of things. Now, well, this is a relatively short section. The whole canto is in fact having only one section, section 65, with 31 sentences only. 31 sentences only. Let us see whether we can finish that thing today. And then 158 lines and a total number of 1136 words. 1136 words. So, it's a very short canto, very short section also, relatively. In fact, we have seen sections much longer than that, running into 70, 80, 90 sentences sometimes. Now, this canto begins, has the title, The Paradise of the Life Course. Paradise. See, there is a difference between paradise and heaven. This is not the heaven of the life gods, it is paradise of life gods, see, where you have got kind of merriment, joy, happiness, song, music, beauty, love, that's romanticism. That is the paradise of the life gods, you see. Well, that is what people think, religious people think, that after having done good deeds in this life of yours, then you are taken to this paradise of life gods. Then you enjoy music, you enjoy drinks, you enjoy happiness and that kind of a thing, you see. But in the totality of the scheme, that is a very small part of existence. And it can, it does, it will distract you from your actual goal. Your goal will be in fact beyond the paradise. It has to go all the way to the realms of transcendent light, beauty, joy, happiness, or the transcendent nature. This is only in the world of life alone, you see. Now, the canto begins, section begins. Around him shone a great felicitous day. He has come out of night. He has come out of darkness. He has experienced extreme pain in the earlier part. In fact, if you see what has happened to him, the penman had done the calligraphy. Then life beat pure in the corporeal frame. In the previous cantos, life beat pure in the corporeal frame. That is the purity of man. The infernal gleam died and could slay no more the darkness. And then he hell split across his huge abrupt facade. Hell itself has broken up completely. The structure has collapsed with that thing now, as if a magic building were undone. So what has happened? The first thing which has happened for him is life beat pure in the physical itself. Life beat pure in the physical itself. The infernal gleam has died. Hell split. Magic building is undone. Night opened and vanished. Into being's gap there poured a wide, intimate, blissful dawn. That is what happened. Here were all things that time's torn heart had made. Here were all things that time's torn heart had made absolutely monosyllabic line. And sorrow could live no more. Division ceased to be. The soul lit the conscious body. That is a tremendous thing. The soul itself lit the body itself has become conscious. And in that conscious body, there is a light of the soul now. Is matter and spirit mingled and were one. So that is a siddhi, that is a realization. With that siddhi, with that realization, he is now entering into the paradise. And around him shone a great felicitous day. With all that kind of realization, what is there around him? A felicitous day, a day of happiness, of joy. Felicitous day. Around him shone a great felicitous day. Now, of course, the poet, the yogi, is extremely careful. He says that it is a great felicitous day. It is not the everlasting day. It is not the everlasting day. The everlasting day occurs in Canto, in book 11, the everlasting day. So, this is only a kind of a small aspect of that everlasting day which is seen here. Great felicity, well, great, all right, felicity is all right, but it is only one thing. Shone a great felicitous day. It is not a day only, so to say. So, for seeing this day, all that preparation of the life, hell has to split and gloom has to go away and body has to become all that thing. All those things having happened, then he is able to go into the paradise of life gods. Now, we think that our good deeds will take us to this paradise of life gods. It's not so. You have to have that kind of preparation first. You have to have that achievement in you. The body should become conscious, hell should split, all those things should go away. Then only you might enter into this paradise of life gods, vital gods. So these are all the vital gods, vital beings. A luster of some rapturous infinite. It is not the total infinite. A luster of some rapturous infinite. It held the splendor of his golden laugh. Yeah, well, you see now the whole poetry is lyrical, sweet, moving, joyous. That's the mood of the poetry, you see. Splendor of his golden love. It held the splendor of its golden love. So first foot is I am, second foot is anapes, third foot is a piri, fourth and fifth are I ams again. But the beauty of this line, it held the splendor of his golden love. See how many L's are there? The liquidity of sound, that is the kind of sweetness of the paradisal life. Liquidity, the flow, the lucidity, it held the splendor of his golden love. So the poet is very artistic also to bring out that aspect. Liquidity, regions of the heart's happiness set free. Regions of the heart's happiness set free with that rapturous day, rapturous infinite. Now, again, from the occult point of view, from the point of view of exactness of description, when you are entering into life's heavens, how these gods, how this paradise, what is actually happening is only regions feel free. Regions of heart, not the full heart. There are many aspects of heart which are not yet opened out. The subvital, the lower part, even the superior part of the vital. So there are certain aspects of the heart which are now experiencing these things. So he uses the word very correctly, very well. I am not going to give a certificate. He is telling you that look, this is the totality of the heart. The lower, the middle, the higher, all the antariksha, that is what is happening. Regions of the heart, happiness, set free, intoxicated with the wine of God. Well, that is what the joyous heart will see. Intoxication of the wine of God. Wine of God. I don't know what kind of wine it is. Soma. It is definitely better than champagne, perhaps, or vodka. I don't know. Wine of God, Soma Rasa. That is what they drink. Well, actually, the higher, the superior gods, they don't drink Soma. They drink immortality. The drink of immortality. Amruta. They drink Amruta. Intoxicated with the wine of God. Now, that is the difference. With the wine of God, you can get intoxicated. With Amruta, you don't get intoxicated. You don't get intoxicated. You live in it, you enjoy it, you are there. See? Immersed in light, perpetually divine. Now, who are perpetually divine? Who are immersed in light? Regions of heart. Regions of heart. Immersed in light, perpetually divine. Only regions of heart. A favorite and intimate of the gods. Obeying the divine command to joy. It was the sovereign of its own delight and master of the kingdoms of its foes. That it, lesser of some, it stands for that lesser of some, rapturous infinite. It held, luster held. It was the sovereign, that lesser was the sovereign of its own delight, master of its own kingdom. You see, that lesser actually refers to felicitous day. The first line. Felicitous day. So it was a rapture. It was the sovereign of his own delight and master of the kingdoms of his soul. Assured the bliss for which all forms were made. This is a tremendous thing. The form is actually meant for beauty, for bliss. Form is meant for beauty, for bliss. Where there is perfect form, you automatically have, along with it, bliss. Perfect form means perfect bliss also. Beauty. They go together, they cannot be separated. Perfect form. Assured the bliss for which all forms were made. Who has made all forms? Who has assured bliss for forms? In the Vedic tradition, it is Agni who is the builder of forms. He is the builder of forms. Agni is the builder of forms. And when Agni is working for that form, it is his bliss which he is pouring into it, into that form. Agni pours his bliss into that form, you see. The work of Agni means form and beauty, essentially. Assured the bliss. So that is why there is the assurance. When Agni is doing that thing, there is the assurance. Unmoved by fear and grief and the shocks of pain, and unalarmed by the breath of fleeting time, and unseized by adverse circumstance, it breathed in a sweet, secure, unguarded ease, free from our body's clarity, inviting death. So, actually, who invites death in our body? Is the frailty of the body. The cause of death, in our case, is the frailty of the body. Why frailty of the body? Because the body cannot hold the bliss. It is not assured of the form. Therefore, it is frail. And when that frailty is there, naturally it invites death. Far from the danger zone of stumbling will. The body is far away from the will. Zone of stumbling will. Danger of zone of stumbling will. It needed not to curb its passionate beat. Again that heart beat, passionate beat. Thrilled with the clasp of the warm, satisfied sense. It needed not to curb its passionate beat. Well, so it can allow its passion to run freely without any harm being encountered. Thrilled with the clasp of the warm, satisfied sense and the swift wonder rush and flame and cry. See, the poetry is different altogether. It's very sweet, very warm. And a swift wonder rush and flame and cry of the life impulses red magnificent rays. Life impulses red magnificent rays. So impulses are racing to get more and more joy constantly. Life impulses red magnificent rays. Dynamic, active, physically red means that. It lived in a dual rhythm of the laughter of God and lay on the breast of universal love. It lived in a dual rhythm. The dual rhythm, see, well, basically what it means is that, in earlier days when we had these mechanical watches, we used to have 15 jewels, 17 jewels, 19 jewels, and in those jewels, the clock was rhythmically moving, you see, so that nothing gets burned out or out, you see, dual rhythm. Nowadays you don't need that, you see. So the Swiss people really made wonderful clocks in those days, clocks and watches also, small little watches with gems. The idea of the jewel is that they don't get worn out. So the rhythm is maintained, the timing is maintained, you see. It lived a dual rhythm of the laughter of God and lay on the breast of universal love. Immune the unfettered spirit of delight, immune. Nothing will touch it, nothing will spoil it. Unfettered, nothing will clamp it. The spirit of delight, pastured in gleaming sunherds and moon flocks. Along the lake speed of grief stream. So you have got streams which are grief lakes. Around those, on the banks of the stream are pastures, and those pastures you see sunherds and moon flocks. Sunherds and moon flocks. In fragrance of the unearthly asphodel. Those pastures in fragrance of the unearthly asphodel. Well, that is the plain meaning of this one. But this is a very intricate kind of a presentation. Immune the unfettered spirit of delight. Spirit of delight. See, the romantic poets, Shelley and Keats, they talk of immortal bird, spirit of delight, immortal bird. Keats speaks of immortal bird. Shelley speaks of bird of bliss, happiness. And then skylark and nightingale. Nightingale, Keats' nightingale is immortal bird. Shelley's skylark is sprite, elfin, heavenly bird. Are you a spirit or a heavenly bird? He says. Spirit of delight. You see. Sprite means heaven, elfin, angelic. But this phrase, spirit of delight, is directly taken from Shelley's poem, Really, really thou livest, his poem. Really, really thou comest, spirit of delight. You can see that? He is talking of spirit delight. He comes very rarely for him. Actually, Shelley was an exceptional poet, very exceptional poet. And in one of his poems he says, "On the thorns of life I fall, I bleed. On the thorns of life I fall, I bleed." And then he is praying for the spirit of delight to come and announce him. He was one who was really bleeding by falling on the thorns of life. Sri Aurobindo, in one of his letters to Amal Kiran, tells that Shelley was not an evolutionary being. He was an involutionary being. He was an involutionary being. So naturally, that involutionary being, when he comes to this mortal world, he feels that he has fallen on the thorns of life. He feels that he has fallen on the thorns of life. He is coming from the mortal world, from the involutionary world. He has come to this mortal world and he is fallen on the thorns of life. And when he is in this mortal world, then he says, "Rarely, rarely thou comest, O Spirit of delight. O Spirit of delight." That is what he says. And then the whole poem goes on, you see. In fact, he uses this word, phrase twice. "I love all that thou lovest," the Spirit of delight. "The fresh earth is new leaves address, and the starry night, autumn evening, and the morn, when the golden mists are born." What a beautiful line, see. "I love snow and all the forms of the radiant fold." See, this is what he has come to write, something very specific as an evolutionary being. He has come here. This is not a person who has grown through the process of evolution, like kids. She have to speak of that. In fact, the mother says that the Rigvedic rishis, the rishis of the Rigveda, they were involutionary beings, and they had brought that knowledge directly with them. That is why the Vedas are absolutely full of truth and beauty and joy. They had come. See, it is at that early stage of human history to get a poetry like Rigveda. It doesn't happen like that. Things have not evolved. The human consciousness has not evolved to come to that level of utterance, of that expression. You see. So, special beings had descended upon earth and they gave us that poetry. That is the beauty of Rigveda. That is why it is always so powerful, so beautiful. They had come here, taken birth. So, spirit of delight is what we are seeing here.
Shelley was one of them.
Shelley
Was one of them.
Pardon?
Shelley was one of them.
Yes, he was an evolutionary being. Sri Aurobindo has written specifically in a letter that he was an evolutionary being who had come here to open out certain doors of poetry.
So can we say he is a Vibhuti?
No, Vibhuti is different. No, he is not Vibhuti. He is not Vibhuti. Vibhuti is not necessarily an evolutionary being. In fact, it is evolutionary being, Vibhuti.
Evolutionary being means helping.
As we have come. As we have come from. See, for instance, a certain God, a certain being from the higher world, for a certain purpose, he takes birth here. He has not evolved from here, but he feels that a certain kind of a job must be done, and he comes here and takes birth. He takes birth here. Actually, My feeling is, you must have heard of the great Indian freedom fighter, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Tilak, Tilak, you see. He was in fact associated with Shebendo, the Surat Conference, Surat Congress. They were on the same dais. Lokmanya Tilak, he's called Lokmanya Tilak, and Bal Gangadhar is his name. And Shebendo, they came together, you see. Now, it seems that Shebendo calls him as some Kamadeva who had taken birth. See the kind of the spirit he had, the power with which he worked, the kind of a revolutionary output which has come out of his work, completely transformed the political scene of the country. He had taken that birth specifically for that purpose. It seems that a special being had come here for a certain purpose, you see. For a certain purpose, you see. They had taken birth for that purpose. So Tilak really does not belong to our common mankind. He has come somebody like that to. In fact, many of the freedom fighters of that decade, 1900 to 1910, those 10 years when Shebendo was engaged, they were exceptional beings who had taken special birth to promote not for India's freedom, but the necessity of India's freedom for the evolutionary growth. The important point was not India's freedom, but India's freedom is a necessity that the evolution can move forward. So they had taken special birth in those days, you see, and you could see the difference between the kind of a work they had done in those 10 years and what happened afterwards. You see. So Shelley was really an evolutionary being who had come to kind of do something in poetry and take it forward, and that is what we have got here in this poem. Spirit of delight, and she will use it purposely. So he is one who is coming from that plane. He is coming from that plane of the paradise like God, you see, to do certain work. Shelley, you see.
You said Karma Deva.
Karmalam.
You said Karma Deva.
No, Karmadeva. Karmadeva. Tilak Karmadeva. Yeah. Karmadeva.
This being has no psychic being.
No psychic being naturally.
They come directly.
Directly. See, like that, there must be many like that. They come for a specific purpose, they do the work, and then go away. Right. Karmadeva. And the kind of prodigious work he had done in those few years, you see, tremendous. Immune and fettered spirit to delight, pastured his gleamings in God. He is of that laughter of God, rhythm, laughter of God, and lay in your love. Gleaming sunherds, the herd of light, Helios of Greek mythology. In Odyssey, you have got sunherds with horns of gold. With horns of gold. In fact, the dhenu, the cow, or the Rigvedic rishis, cow means gold. Gold means light. It has the horns of gold. Horns of gold. So it is for those cows, the sunherds of cows and moon flocks. Now, sunherd is in a certain sense common because it comes from the herds of Helios, from Homer's poetry, herds of Helios. Moon flocks, this is new. This you will find only in Savitri, moon flocks. Moon flocks, the flocks of joy, of happiness, of ecstasy. Moon, Soma, Ananda. Ananda. So actually the word Soma in Sanskrit is moon. And Soma is also the elixir of delight. Soma Rasa. The god drink the Soma Rasa. Moon flux. So gleaming sun house and moon flux along the lyric speed of griefless stream. So these streams are lyrically moving, chanting the song of joy, chanting the song of joy constantly. Griefless stream in fragrances of the unearthly asphodel. Asphodel, a bunch of flowers of various colors. Asphodel, flowers. Thick flowers are there. And there are 2 or 3 types of color: white, lavender color, bluish, lavender. And they are extremely fragrant. Asphodel. Actually, this word asphodel is also related to the flowers which are present in the Hades, in the underworld, asphodel. And very often at the grave you have the asphodel flowers, so that you are carrying the fragrance with you always throughout this asphodel. Let me see what I have got here. Asphodel, immortal flower in Elysian land, in the Isle of the Blessed. In the Isle of the Blessed. Of the lily family, white, pink, yellow, their colors. And they grow in elongated clusters. Really, the so many pictures are very beautiful, asphodels. Elongated clusters. Very fragrant also, you see. In Greek mythology, peculiar plant of the dead, set to cover Elysian fields. Those who live in the Elysian fields, the land of the blessed, the island of the blessed, those who live, there you got asphodels. Now, Persephone, who was there in the Hades, was crowned with a garland of asphodels. Garland of asphodels. Persephone. Milton, in his Paradise Lost, has a line: to embed, to take bath, to embed in nectared lavers strewn with asphodel. Embed nectared lavers. You are washing yourself with nectar constantly. Strewn with asphodel. That water is washed constantly with asphodel. What a complex sentence, you see. To embed in nectared lavers strewed with asphodel. Very fragrant flower, very beautiful flower, flower of immortality in a way, you see. Jate donne me bouquet de asphodel. Correct? Jate donne me bouquet d'asphodel by Marie Lafour. Marie Lafour. That is her poem. That is her composition. I am giving you my bouquet of asphodel. I am giving you jate donne me bouquet d'asphodel. I am giving you. I gave you my bouquet of asphodel. Fragrance, beautiful. So that is what I got here. In fragrance, so they are the asphodel. So our asphodels, well, we will not condemn them, but they are also good, our asphodels. They are very fragrant, pink, yellow, white asphodels. In silence of felicity, this is again something very unusual. Felicity has silence. Felicity is accompanied with silence. In silence of felicity, it's not boisterous, noisy, that kind of thing. You enjoy felicity in a very silent, you see. In silence of his wrapped the heavens, a sealess radiance smiled upon the height, wrapped the heavens. The heavens themselves are wrapped, you see. Now here, this you can see this word here is wrapped, W-R-A-P-P-E-D. And here the spelling PPD is correct, but it is better here than WRAPT. You see, you can see the difference between the sound, wrapped and wrapped. You can see the difference. You see. So Shevendra is very careful about his sound values. In other place, he uses the word WRAPT, wrapped. You see. A silence of felicity wrapped the heaven. A sealess radiance smiled upon the eyes. So the radiance is smiling continuously. A murmur of inarticulate ravishment trembled in the wind and touched the enchanted soil. Trembled in the wind and touched the enchanted soil. What a lyricism, you see. Trembled, rocky, in the winds, Anapis, and touched, I am, the enchant, again, Anapis, a soil. It can be Anapis, it can be I am also, last quote. Trembled the wind and touched the enchanted soil. So you can see the length of the line also beautiful going with that. Incessant the arms of ecstasy. That is what the aspirants do, heavenly aspirants. Repeating a sweet, involuntary note. Involuntary note is not compared by anything. It is spontaneous, constantly. A sob of rapture flowed along the hours. So when you are joyous, as if you are sobbing, you see. When you are so happy, so joyous, you are kind of sobbing. Your eyes become wet with joy, you see. A sob. That is sheer poetry. That is sheer lyricism. Advancing at an arch of glory and peace. Traveller on plateau and on musing ridge, as one who sees in the world magician's glass a miracle imagery of soul's plea, he traversed scenes of an immortal joy and gazed into abysms of beauty and bliss. He traveled. Here full style for Ashwapati. So this whole felicitous day is for Ashwapati. The whole description of felicitous day, and he's traveling to this felicitous day now. See, he travels scenes of an immortal joy, heavenly asphodel, fragrance, beauty, steam, and gaze into the abysms of beauty and bliss. What a line! Abysms of beauty, which has no depth. Go deeper and deeper and deeper. Still, you don't reach the bottom of things. Abysms of beauty. This word abysms, 157.1. We have seen it last time. We see it again. 157.1. Out of abysmal trance, her spirit woke. Abysmal trance. Abysmal trance, which has no depth below. Down completely. It cannot be plumbed at all, you see. Savitri is in the world of superconscious bliss, in that abysmal trance which cannot be really plunged down. And she is now waking up from that and seeing the world around here. She has received the boon from the divine. Her Satyavan is with her now. And she is now waking to the reality of this earth, abysmal. Woke. She woke from that trance, from the superconscious trance, you see. Now, this line, and gaze into abysms of beauty and bliss. Abysm, the depth of which cannot be really gauged in that sense. Not darkness, not lost in that sense, but something which is very, 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 very deep, extremely deep. Now, in Shakespeare, Tempest, in his Tempest, there is a very beautiful phrase, and that reminds of this abysm. Thou hast and more Miranda, but how is it that this lives in thy mind? What seest thou else? What seest thou else? He sees her father tells Miranda that he will tell something about the past life of Miranda. He was holding it back all the while. He was holding it back, Prospero. He was holding back the past life of Miranda, how it happened. But now he is coming out to tell what she was. And in that context, he says, in the dark backward, go back in time. He uses the word backward as a noun. In the dark backward. Backward is used as a noun here. In dark backward. And abysm of time. You are going back so much in the abysm of time, where the time has practically no existence at all. It is from that you have come. That is what her father is telling her. The dark backward, directed towards the past. Directed towards the past. You see, dark backward. Now, this is what we got here. And gaze in the abysms of beauty and bliss. Abysms. Now he is going back and seeing the origin of beauty and bliss. And gazed. So the line is scanned. And gazed into. And gazed, I am. Into. Trochee. Abysms. I am. Of beau, I am. And last put is anapis. Beauty and bliss. Beauty and bliss. He travels scenes of immortal joy. So that is what the everlasting day, not everlasting day, the felicitous day is bringing to him, you see. Around him was the light of conscious suns. Now he uses the word conscious suns. So there are suns who are not conscious of themselves. The physical sun is not conscious of itself, what it is. The physical sun which I got in the sky, the stars who are also suns, they are not conscious of what they are. Actually, it is Agni himself who is present in them and burning them in the occult manner of seeing. It is Agni who is present in those suns and who is giving light and form and energy to creation. So, these suns, these material suns, they are not conscious that it is Agni who is actually burning in them, is present in them. And that Agni is present everywhere, down below, even in the material creation. Around him was the light of conscious sun. Means everywhere, every material object is aware of his luminosity, of his radiance, of his power, and of his form. And brooding gladness of great symbol thing. To meet him, crowded plains of brilliant calm. To meet him, to meet Ashwapati, crowded plains of brilliant calm. So the plains are crowding around him and coming to him, you see. Calm. Mountains and violet valleys of the blessed. Mountains and violet valleys of the blessed. Deep glens of joy. Crooning waterfalls. The waterfalls are crooning with a slow noise. And woods of quivering purple solitude. Below him lay like gleaming jeweled thorn, wrapped dreaming cities of Gandharva king. Gandharva king. So these Gandharvas belong to the world of paradise. Vital gods, Gandharvas. Gandharvas, the lovers of beauty of joy, of lyricism, Gandharva. So this is actually the word of Gandharvas, what is the vital gods, what we have got, the paradise of vital gods. Now these Gandharvas, they are very romantic people also. And their consorts are Apsaras, Gandharvas and Apsaras. So they will always have romance of the while, you see. Apsaras are dancers, Gandharvas are musicians, singers, and they got extraordinary powers. Actually, the chief of Gandharvas, Chitraratha, it is he who taught Arjuna music and dance. Chitraratha, the Gandharva, it is he who taught Arjuna music and dance. See, when the Pandavas lost the game of dice, they were ordered to live in the forest for 12 years and totally unrecognized, incognito for 1 year. Nobody should be able to identify themselves that these are the 5 Pandavas, you see. They were supposed to live like that for 1 year as incognito, unidentified completely. If somebody goes and finds them, well, this is Arjuna, this is Bhima, this is that, then the whole cycle is repeated. Another 12 years and 1 more year of incognito living, you see. Now, during those 12 years, during that 1 year, they were staying with King Virata. And it is there Arjuna served as a teacher of music and dance to people in the palace. People in the palace. He taught them music and dance because he had learned that him from Chitraratha, the chief of the Gandharvas, you see. And Chitraratha was kind of very helpful to him in the sense that it is he who gave him the divine chariot and divine weapons to fight on the battlefield. So Arjuna received the chariot, the horses, and the weapons from Chitraratha. So that is how he helped him also. He taught him music and dance and gave him the war weapons and war chariot, you see, like that. Rapt, dreaming cities of Gandharva king. So you can imagine the cities of Gandharva, full of glory, joy, bright, lighting and all that kind of a thing. Raptures. Across the vibrant secrecies of space. A dim, happy music sweetly stole. How softly the poet is doing. A dim and happy music sweetly so dim and happy, well, soft music. Smitten by unseen hands, he heard, heart close, very close to his heart close, the harsh cry of the heavenly minstrels. These are heavenly minstrels. These Gandharvas are heavenly musicians. They play and dance, Apsaras, for the gods in heaven, in Swarga. Across the vibrant secrecies of space, the space itself is hiding all these joys. Vibrant, Louis, a dim and happy music, sweetly stole. Smitten by unseen hands, he heard heart close, the harp's cry, very close to the harp. The harp is crying. See, it's a transfer epithet of the heavenly minstrels. Heavenly minstrels, these are the Gandharvas, they are called the minstrels. And voices of an earthly melody chanted the glory of eternal love. That is what the romanticism is. In the white, blue, moonbeam air of paradise. So that is the paradise, description of paradise, you see. Now this is the Indian scene of Gandharvas. Then we have got the Elysian scene, Greek, a summit and core of all that marvelous world. of that paradise of life God, of that marvelous world. Apart stood high, Elysian, nameless hill, the islands of the blessed Elysian land, burning like sunsets in a trance of you, burning like sunset in a trance of you. These nameless hills, as it are burning like sunsets. When the sunset is there, you see a variety of colors, as if they are whole glowing with that color, as if they are burning with those colors, you see. Burning in trance of eve in the evening. In the evening. Now, this is absolutely detailed kind of a poetry. Summit and core of all that marvelous world, apart stood high Elysian, namely, so hills are there. Now these hills are burning like sunsets in trance of eve. The eve self is in trance and it is glowing, those colors are there, of that thing, those hills are like that. Now this kind of a minute description of a particular scene is exactly what you have got in Keats's poetry. Keats goes into all the minutiae of description. That is the speciality of Keats poetry. All small details he will give you like that, you see. And this is a wonderful example of Keatsian exactness, Keatsian minutiae in poetry. High Elysian, nameless hill, burning sunsets and trance of eve. As if to some dew unsearched profundity, into a joyful stillness plunged their babe. There slow through a hurry of laughter and voice and sang, crossed by a throng of singing rivulets, crossed by a throng of singing rivulets, adoring blue heaven with a happy hymn. So these singing rivulets are adoring blue heaven with a happy hymn. Down into woods of shadowy secrecy, full of shadowy means thick forest in the sense. Shadowy secrecy, lifted into wide, voiceless mystery. Their peaks climb towards a greatness beyond life. Those Elysian hills, all that thing. Now this one, a summit and core of all that marvelous world. Apart stood high Elysian nameless hill, burning like sunset in a trance of eve. Well, there you are. Mother's voice is there. She has her recitation is of a different kind altogether. Her recitation is of a different kind. As if to some dew unsearched profundity, into a joyful stillness plunged their bays. Their slopes through a hurry of laughter and voices sang, crossed by a throng of singing rivulets, adoring blue heaven with their happy hymn. That is what she was reciting, you see, happy hymn. Down into woods of shadowy secrecy, lifted into wide, voiceless mystery, their peaks climb towards a greatness beyond life. So the hills, Elysian hills, are beyond life, climbing up. Now, that is the first we had the Gandharvas, then we have got the Greek Elysian. Now we come to the biblical shining Edens of the vital gods. The shining Edens of the vital gods received him in their deathless harmony. Shining heaven, Edens of the vital gods. Well, it is in this place, in this Eden, that Adam and Eve were living all the while. Shining vital God. Means that was the stage of evolution when kings were only in the life plane. If you had to make a further progress, you had to quit that life plane. The paradise must get lost. That paradise of life gods must be left behind and come down here and acquire mind. So, paradise loss is in fact, in a way you are saying, a tremendous progress. You have come out of the vital world and now you are going to enter into the mental. A new evolutionary step has been taken in that process. Paradise lost in that sense is a positive thing, you see. Edens of vital God received him in the deathless harmony. Well, he will go there, he will be received and all that thing, but he is not to wait there, he is got to stay there at all, you see. All things are perfect there, that flower in time. Beauty was there, creation's native mode. Peace with a thrill, voluptuous purity. So peace, beauty, everything was wonderful there. All things were perfect in paradise. There, love fulfilled her gold and roseate dream. So love, well, we have gold and roseate dreams of love, but they will hardly get fulfilled in our life, you see. Golden. And strength, so love, strength, pleasure, he's going to talk of that thing. Their love fulfilled her gold and roseate dream, and strength, her crown and mighty reveries. Strength, crown and mighty reveries, remembrances. Desire climbed up a swift, omnipotent flame. So desire is a flame now, and pleasure had the stature of the god. Dream walked along the highway of the stars. So you have got love, you have got strength, you have got desire, you have got pleasure, you have got dream. Sweet common thing turned into miracle in the paragraph. Sweet common thing turned into miracle. Overtaken by the Spirit's sudden spell, smitten by divine passion's alchemy. So it is a passion, life God, passion, or divine alchemy, changing the whole thing has changed. Pain, self-compelled, transformed to potent joy. That is the alchemy. That the pain is turning into joy. Passion's alchemy of that thing. Pain, self-compelled, transformed into potent joy. Curing the antithesis between heaven and hell. Well, that is the best you can do. These life gods in the paradise, the best they can do is cure the antithesis, the opposition between heaven and hell. They cannot remove it totally. They cannot change it. That is the achievement, but at the same time, that is the limitation. The highest scope of their work is that much only. All life's high visions are embodied there. Let's go back to this one, 65.9. Violet valleys of the blessed. Violet valley is the best. Now, what are the violet valleys of the blessed? Quran describes the valley of blessed as Bakka, B-A-K-K-H, Bakka. And it says, verily, the first house set apart unto mankind of happiness, unto mankind was that at Bakka, the violet valley of blessed at Bakka. Blessed and a guidance unto the worlds, Bakka to crowd like bazaar. Now, this line, we are coming back to this now. Curing the antithesis between heaven and hell. Now, this is a very difficult line to scan. Very difficult line to scan. See, if you go by the quick kind of a scansion, it will be curing. Okay, and T, and the thesis, Greek, between, I am heaven, Trochee, and hell, I am. It becomes a 6-footer. It becomes a 6-footer. 6 feet in the line. Curing the antithesis between heaven and hell. It becomes 6-footer. So that is not really kind of acceptable. Savitri is essentially pentametric, 5 feet. So you have to do kind of jugglery. You have to do kind of a jugglery. And there are many ways of working out certain combinations. It can be curing that is dactyl. curing the long, short, anti, I am, thesis, between, thesis, antithesis, between. So that becomes tripack, 3 feet. When hey, I am, and hell, Anapest. That is one way of scanning you to see. But the way which I would scan, curing Anapest, the anti-Anapest, thesis between, thesis bit, tripack, short, curing and talking, the anti-Anapest, thesis bit, short, tripack, win hey, I am, and then on and hell, Anapest. So that is how I would scan the line, you see, curing the antithesis between heaven and hell. Then it becomes 5-footer, you see. Otherwise, this is very clearly a 6-footer line, you see, very difficult kind of line. All life's high visions are embodied there. Now, these are the visions of life, not the visions necessarily of the spirit. All life's high visions are embodied there. Joy, beauty, sweetness, lyricism, charm, enchantment, spell. So these are the visions of life. These are the visions of life. All life's high visions are embodied there. Her wandering hope, her life, her wandering hopes achieved, her aureate combs caught by the honey eater's darting tongue. Her, again, of course, like her aureate combs, golden combs, her wandering hope. So her that is, I am Anapest, achieved, I am, her awe, I am, create combs, again Anapest, caught by the honey eater's darting tongue. Her burning kisses chained to ecstasy the truth. Her mighty panting still in deathless calm and liberated her immense desire. Her immense desire, they were locked, they have found a freedom to express themselves, you see. That is what is happening. All life's high visions, you see, in that paradise of life gods, vital gods, in that paradise of perfect heart and sense. No lower note could break the endless charm. So it was only high-pitched, sweet, melodious song all the while, of a sweetness ardent and immaculate. Her steps are sure of their intuitive fall. The way she is dancing, they are sure of intuitive fall. Falling of the steps. After the anguish of the soul's long strife, that is what he has seen in the previous canto. After the anguish of the long strife, at length were found calm and celestial rest. So there is a kind of respite, repose, suffering which was there. And lapped in a magic flood of sorrowless hours, So the hours are lapping his burden. He were his warrior nature's wounded limb. He is, of course, Ashwapati now. He is describing Ashwapati in this world. He were his warrior nature's wounded limb in the encircling arms of energies that brooked no stain and feared not their own bliss. So this is the kind of a redeeming feature of Ashwapati when he is entering into life. In words, after passing through hell, after passing through that world of falsehood, he is seeing now, lapped in a magic flood of sorrowless hours. So the flood is lapping, the water is lapping. Now the word lap we have already seen earlier also. Lapped was his body with a tenebrous tongue. When he was in the darkness of that world, somebody was lapping his body. That life was lapping his body. Lapped was his body with a tenebrous tongue, life's tenebrous tongue. Now that tenebrous tongue has become now here a magic flood of sorrowless hours. Another tongue now, which was lapping his body, has now become sorrowless hour. 10 hours tongue, I can give that reference in case you want to note down. 60.12. Left was his body where 10 hours tongue, 60.12. So after the horror of night through which he was going, after the horror of night, he needed these things, what you are seeing the paradise of him. He now meets forms that divine sight. After the lapping of the tongue with the tenor tongue, he now meets forms that divinize the sight. Music that can immortalize the mind, make heart wide as infinity, capture in inaudible cadences that awake the occult ears, what we're going to see here, left in a magic flood of sorrowless hour. He were his warrior because he was fighting this night, you see. Nature's wounded limb, in the encircling arms of energy that broke no stain and fear not their own will, in scenes forbidden to our pallid sense. Amid miraculous scents and wonder hues, so they got scents and hues. He met the forms that divinize time, that divinize sight. Form, see, the form itself which is divinizing your sight. It is not that with sight you are seeing divinized form. It is the form itself which is divinizing, making your sight divya. Divya. Form itself is making divine. Divinizing the sight. To music that can immortalize the mind. So, mind itself is now becoming immortalized. That music is making that thing. So, the forms are divinizing sight. Music is immortalizing mind and making the heart wide as infinity. So this is the kind of a transformation which has taken place there, you see, after that experience, and make the heart wide as infinity. Listen and capture the inaudible cadence, listen and capture the inaudible cadences that awake the occult ear. So we have got here forms, divinizing sight. You have got music, immortalizing mind. You have got heart, wider infinity, listening to things. And inaudible cadences that awake the occult ear. This is something absolutely wonderful. It is the cadence which is opening out your ear, the occult ear which was shut until now. You see, we have got that occult ear, but it is shut to that light. We have got occult sight, it is shut to that thing. We have got occult senses, but they are shut to that thing. Now it is they which are getting opened out here, you see, the occult senses. And make the heart wide as infinity. Listen and capture the inaudible cadences that awake the occult ear. Out of the ineffable hush, it hears them come. That occult ear. It hears them come, trembling with beauty of a wordless speed, and thoughts too great and deep to find a voice. Thoughts whose desire new makes the universe. Thoughts whose desire new make the universe. So that is the power of the thought. The thought itself can new make a universe. And that thought is getting awakened here. This organ, this faculty are getting opened out here, you see. A scale of sense that climbed with fiery feet. So you are climbing the mountain, fiery feet, to heights of unimagined happiness. Recast his being's aura in joy glow. His aura itself is now becoming joyous, happy glow. His body glimmered like a sky shell, glimmered like a sky shell. His gaze to the world was swept with seas of light. His gaze to the world, they have opened out with seas of light, they're rushing into him now. His body glimmered like a sky shell. So there is no body at all, it's only shell now. But it's glimmering like that thing. Now this sky shell, body like a shell. We have seen that thing earlier in the case of Savitri. When Savitri gets formless liberation, the formless liberation. She is asked to annul herself completely so that only God be. Nothing should exist there at all. So she gets formless liberation. And in that formless liberation, what does she see? She sees her body floating like a shell, empty of anything, completely shell. She sees the body. The reference is here. 130.15. 130.15. His gaze of the world was swept with seas of light. 130.15. A hollow physical shell persisted still. Physical shell. Here we got sky shell. Now, out of the ineffable hush, it hears them come, trembling with the beauty of a wordless speech. Wordless speech. That is Paravani. Paravani. Transcendental speech. Transcendental speech. Paravani. Para means transcendental. Vani, speech. Transcendental speech. Wordless speech. Trembling with the beauty of a wordless speech. What a line. And tossed too great, etc. But this is very awkward. Beauty of a wordless speech. Now, you see, every year during puja days in October, Goddess Durga used to visit the mother. And she used to be with her for a long time. During the October month, Durga Puja days, Durga Puja days, Goddess Durga used to visit the mother regularly and be with her for a long time. During the puja days, Durga used to be with the mother for a long time and used to have long exchanges. Used to talk and every kind of thing used to talk like that, you see. Now, the mother was asked, or rather she told, do you think that we are speaking in French or other language? We are not speaking that. We are speaking in wordless speech. We communicated with each other without any speech as such, you see. Wordless speech, you see. That's what you are speaking.
Even in dream sometimes it's like this.
In the agenda is there.
In dream. Yeah. In the dream, it's
no, not dream.
No, I am telling you, in the dream
okay.
also, sometimes
you hear
it's
something.
like this. Yeah, we speak, but after I realized that we didn't say any words. Actually.
No, but in dreams you hear many times music. You hear music in dreams. The music is going on, instruments are playing, and you hear constantly that kind of music many times. You see.
Yeah, we can, but I'm speaking about.
You heard music in dreams?
Yeah.
There you are, you see.
But I'm saying in dreams, sometimes we speak with somebody.
Oh yeah, but we don't utter words.
Yeah.
We don't utter words, that's right.
And we understand. He said like this, I said like
this,
but after you realize that we didn't use word.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Thoughts who desire new makes the universe. See, that is the power of the thought. You see. A scale of sense that climbed with fiery feet to heights unimagined happiness, recast his being's aura in joy glow. His body glimmered like a sky shell. His gaze to the world was swept with seas of light. The whole world is opened out to him. I think we'll stop with that. His gaze to the world was swept with seas of light.